My name is Megan Reesberg, and for my project I chose regulating stress. What is stress? Stress is our body's way of alerting us to danger and responding to demands. It can be both helpful and harmful depending on the situation. In emergency situations, for example, stress is very helpful in keeping you focused, giving you extra strength, and keeping you alert. It can also be very helpful during important life events, keeping you concentrated and driven toward your goal. It can be very harmful to your health as well when you allow it to take over and cause mental problems. What causes stress? Stress can be caused by a number of things, including external events, internal thoughts, and your perception. External events. These can be either positive or negative major life events, such as getting married, getting divorced, going to college, starting a new job, etc. Internal worries. Stress can be self-inflicted when you internally worry an excessive amount over things that may or may not happen. This is probably one of the most common types of stress. Your perspective. Everyone has specific fears or situations under which they thrive that affect when they feel stressed. For example, a person may really enjoy public speaking and thrive under that condition, whereas someone else may think public speaking is extremely stressful. Okay, so now I have a diagram that shows in the brain how stress occurs. So first we have the prefrontal cortex. This is where stress is regulated. Next we have the hypothalamus. This is where kind of wakes up the pituitary and kind of lets it know what's happening. The pituitary then sends warning messages to the adrenaline gland, and the adrenaline gland releases cortisol. The cortisol then travels through the blood vessels and alerts other parts of the body along the way about the stress or danger, and then back up to the hypothalamus. And then the amygdala works to detect dangers in the environment around us and works with the hypothalamus. Next, we have the Holmes and Rahl stress scale for the most stressful life events. Death of a spouse, divorce, marriage separation, imprisonment, death of a close family member, injury or illness, marriage, job loss, marriage reconciliation, or retirement. The negative effects of too much stress. Stress can be very dangerous when allowed to take over your life and start to become a familiar part of your life. Stress overload can cause cognitive, emotional, physical, and behavioral symptoms. Some behavioral symptoms would be eating or sleeping too much or too little, nervous habits, and withdrawing from others. Some physical symptoms would be nausea, quickened heart rate, frequent flu or cold, aches. Some emotional symptoms would be anxiety, loneliness, constant worry, moodiness. And some cognitive symptoms would be memory problems, anxious thoughts, or poor judgment. How to deal with stress effectively. There are several different ways to deal with stress, both at the moment and in long term during your life. Some ways to deal with stressful events in the moment include meditation, yoga, exercise, listening to music, talking to others about what you're dealing with. There are also many ways to lead to a more healthy and stress-free lifestyle long term. This would be exercising on a daily basis, building a relationship with those around you, taking time to relax, sticking to a healthy diet, and getting plenty of sleep. Okay, so as part of my project, I decided to conduct an experiment on some of my peers to see the effects of stress and taking time to regulate your stress. So to better understand the importance of regulating stress in teenagers, I conducted my experiment on 5 peers, ages 15 to 17. The following are the steps I took to gather the most common stressors, as well as the most common / effective ways of regulating stress. In this study, I administered a test that I wrote in which each participant would score their common stressors and regulations. After gathering this data, I put it into an organized chart. So this is the chart that I made to show what some of our most common stressors were, and you'll see later in the presentation as well. On a scale of 1 to 5, the average for school was about 3.6. The average for social pressure was about 3.2. The average for social media was about 2.6. The average for relationships with others is 4. Prep for college, 3.6. Work, 2.5. Extracurricular activities, 3. And major changes in schedule, 3. I then had each participant take an online stress test and recorded their starting scores. After I had them perform the tasks they had said best help regulate stress, so either yoga, meditation, listening to music, they each got to choose one. And after taking their stressor test and taking the stress test, they got 15 minutes to do whatever they thought would help calm them down the most. And then they took the stress test once again. My hopes was that the participant's score would be lower than it originally was. And then I recorded the difference in their levels. So participant 1 was a 17-year-old male. Here's the chart that he filled out as what he thought was the most stressful, so you can see kind of across the board. So on a scale of 1 to 5, please score the following common stressors based on how they affect you. Please rate with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. So obviously school 3, social pressures 2, social media 2, relationships with others 4, prepping for college 2, work 1, extracurricular activities 1, and major changes in schedule 2. Here again, we see from a 15-year-old male on what he thought. Just give you a minute to observe that. Okay, next we heard from our third participant, who was a 16-year-old female. Again, you'll kind of see differences between the male and female, the different age groups. School 4, social pressure 5, relationships with others 5, prepping for college 4, extracurricular activities 4. So definitely a difference there. Participant 4, 17, so getting a lot closer to college. You'll see that the prepping for college 5 is much higher than our 15-year-old male who was at 1. Give you a minute to observe the rest of that. And finally, our fifth participant was another 16-year-old female. Again, school 4, social pressures 3, social media 4, relationships with others 2, prepping for college 4, work 1, extracurricular activities 3, and major changes in schedule 2. So these are the results from the patient's first stress test. I'm going to read you the questions and the responses so you can get an idea of where these percentages come from. Okay, so based on a test with 10 questions, they ask that you answer with 1 of 5 of the following answers. So your answer can either be never, almost never, sometimes, fairly often, or very often. And the questions read as followed. When being upset because something happened unexpectedly. Felt that you were unable to control important things in your life. Felt nervous or stressed. Felt confident in your ability to handle personal problems. Felt that things were going your way. Found that you could not cope with all the things you had to do. Been able to control irritations in your life. Felt that you were on top of things. Been angered because of things that happened that were out of your control. And felt difficulties were piling up so high you couldn't overcome them. So they answered those following questions, and then the website gave a score saying how stressed you were. So our 17-year-old male participant had a stress score of 14, pretty moderate. Our 15-year-old male had a stress score of 12 in the low category. Big jump with our 16-year-old female had a stress score of 24, which is much higher. Next, we had a stress score of 19 for the fourth participant. And for our fifth participant, a stress score of 17. So none of them crazy high, especially for one reason I would think would be we're on summer break right now. There's not the stress of school. There's more the stress of work, not necessarily, but different stressors throughout the year. At this point of the experiment, I had each of the participants take the 15 minutes to spend time doing whatever activity they felt best helped regulate their stress. After, I had the participants complete the stress test again. So our 17-year-old male had a stress score of 12 the second time around. Our second participant had a score of 10 the second time around. Our third participant had a score of 23. Our fourth, a score of 18. And our fifth, a score of 16. And this chart shows the results and kind of the differences between the first time that they took the test and the second time that they took the test. Participant 1 started out at 35% and dropped to 30%, so a pretty big difference there. Second participant, 30% to 25%. Third participant, 60 to 58, which is smaller, but still dropping. Our fourth participant, 48 to 45%. Fifth participant, 43 to 40%. So through this, you can see that though the jumps aren't significantly large, they are there. And you can see that just taking a break to regulate your stress will help you out. So basically the conclusion of all of this is that after examining my data, I have concluded the following. Stress can be reduced if you take time to get away, relax, take your mind off of it. Stress doesn't have to control your life. You can take steps to better manage it. And finally, decreasing your stress will make you a happier and healthier person. So just little bits of, time, and it'll make your whole life better. So that's it. Thank you.